I don't think that they are going to defund Planned Parenthood's preventive health services, because I know that as these senators and Congress members have gone back during recess to their home districts, they are hearing from thousands and thousands of patients.
You know who they're hearing from? They're hearing from thousands and thousands of people saying defund Planned Parenthood. That's who they're hearing from. Oh, they may be hearing from some others, but there is a national uprising against Planned Parenthood. I'm looking at an article here, GOPUSA.com. Huge turnouts for National Day of Protest against Planned Parenthood. This is across the country in front of clinic after clinic after clinic. Huge protests as Americans are awakening to the reality of the evil of Planned Parenthood, the mercenary nature of Planned Parenthood, the murderous intention towards babies in the womb, and the trafficking, the alleged trafficking in baby parts once those children have been aborted. The truth is getting out, and Planned Parenthood is not going to be able to fight it. And as Dr. Ben Carson says, in terms of health services, those are readily available in other places. Planned Parenthood has made its mark for providing abortion on demand. And they are not pro-choice. They do not sit the mother down and say, we know this is a difficult choice, so we want you to know about options. We want to talk to you about potentially keeping the baby. We want to talk to you about adoption options. And we at least want you to look at an ultrasound so you can know clearly what you're going to do. No, to the contrary. Sign here on the dotted line. We're going to make our money and send you on your way. This is the voice of Dawn Lagwins. Not sure if I pronounced her name correctly. She is the executive vice president of Planned Parenthood. Listen to what she had to say.
What the American people say is they believe in safe, legal abortion in this country. 1 in 3 women in America will have an abortion. In fact, if every woman who had an abortion in this country stood up, this debate would be over. Right now, what we know is that the Republican presidential candidates are completely out of step with the American people. 2/3 or better of the American people say they support Planned Parenthood.
She is out of step with reality. Oh, she said 1/3 of American women have had abortions. If we just hear from them, the debate would be over. You know how many of those women regret it today? You know how many of those women have called into shows like this one in tears, talk about an abortion they had 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago? And men involved with the abortions calling in tears as well. You know how many regret that decision? You know how many had complications after that decision? You know how many wish they could go back, turn the clock around? And even those that felt good about their abortions, the more they learn about Planned Parenthood, many of them are revulsed as well. This woman is out of touch with reality. And that's why several states already have announced their intentions to defund Planned Parenthood. And Senator Ted Cruz is making this a major part of his campaign platform. Joey, let's go to clip number 1. Listen to what Senator Ted Cruz is calling for.
Recently, all of us have seen the videos of the behind-the-scenes dealing at the Planned Parenthood facilities. Activities that all of us find horribly offensive. But even more appalling is that we as taxpayers are funding these activities. We cannot allow this to continue. Only our pastors, our faith leaders, our church leaders have enough influence to put a stop to this ongoing Holocaust.
He is calling for Christian leaders, pastors, to lead the way in what I'm referring to as a moral and cultural revolution. But here, he's making it gospel-based. He's saying, pastors, leaders, you must lead the way. Let's listen as Senator Ted Cruz continues to call for pastors to lead the way in bringing about moral and cultural change based on the sanctity of life.
Next Tuesday, August 25th, we'll have a nationwide call with pastors to learn what we can do now to put a stop to this tragedy. The time and number for this call is below. Please make a concerted effort to be on this important call and to encourage all pastors you know to join us. Help stop taxpayer funding for these horrific acts that take a precious human life.
Yeah, a conference call with perhaps 100,000 pastors and leaders. Ted Cruz is serious about mobilizing, and he's one of many. According to reports I'm looking at, there were protests in 320, outside more than 320 Planned Parenthood facilities across the country over the weekend. The comments that you heard from the Planned Parenthood Executive VP, that was the day before the protest. That was August 21st. August 22nd, the day of the protest. There is a grassroots movement rising up, no doubt about it. And here's a bizarre report from The Blaze. Satanists crash Planned Parenthood protests with bizarre spectacle. I remember being in front of an abortion clinic many years ago with an Operation Rescue event, and the ones that came to protest the event, I remember being shocked by it. They were atheists, they were gays and lesbians, and they were Satanists. They were announcing who they were. They were telling the cops, we're the good guys, we're the good guys, we're on the side of the abortion clinic, we're not these bad guys, these Christians here. And I thought, what a coalition. What a coalition in terms of the message is obvious as to whose side they're on and who's on the side of life. And yet, remarkably, someone posts this on Facebook. Let me show you this. Someone posts this on Facebook, on my Facebook page. This is a disgusting misinterpretation of reproductive reality in every way. Dr. Brown is the devil. By exposing Planned Parenthood, I have become the devil. Being one of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands exposing Planned Parenthood, I am now, quote, the devil. Shows you how perverted and mixed up and turned upside down things are. Now, let me read you this word of encouragement. See, the sad thing is, for the most part, pastors, Christian leaders have been on the sidelines when it comes to abortion. For the most part, we have let this atrocity go on without saying much, without doing much. Hardly any involvement in the pro-life movement from most pastors and leaders across America, Christian leaders across America, to our shame. To paraphrase Francis Schaeffer, every abortion clinic should have a sign in front of it saying, open by permission of the local church. But people have been standing in front of abortion clinics, sharing the love of God, preaching the gospel, offering these women and men a better way, a way of hope. Pregnancy crisis centers have been around counseling, reaching out. Right to Life organizations have been working hard. Websites have been working hard. Others have been praying and fasting. My friend Lou Engle helped birth a movement, and others leading it now in intercession for the unborn. And Lou sent this out over the weekend. Today, as so many are gathering at Planned Parenthoods across the nation, contending and praying for the defunding of Planned Parenthood, I look back over the last decade. I am amazed at the prevailing power of prayer. Judging by any one single moment, our intercessory labors could have seemed so weak and ineffective over the years. For an entire generation, abortion has towered above us as a legalized giant, striding across our land, targeting African Americans and Hispanics in particular. Like Goliath, it has been intimidating and strong, yet intercessors heard the blood of the innocent crying out, and we cried out with them. With the passage of time, I can look back over the trajectory of our prayers and recognize that a colossal shift has begun to play out right in front of our eyes. Friends, I want to encourage you as we do what Luke 18 calls for, and we cry out for justice day and night unceasingly. God will grant justice. You know, those who want to redefine marriage, look at those of us who stand for marriage as God intended it and who believe it's best for a kid to have a mom and a dad. We get branded as the KKK. We are the new Nazis. We are the new KKK. Can I tell you something? It will not take much for future generations to look back at Planned Parenthood as the KKK, especially remembering that Margaret Sanger even spoke at some KKK events, the founder of Planned Parenthood, that she believed in eugenics, that she believed in getting rid of the weeds of society that were multiplying too rapidly, that she even set up a particular program for Negroes and to get colored ministers so that they would then infiltrate the ranks of black Americans and get them to have more abortions. Otherwise, they were just multiplying too much and they were uneducated and poor and all of this. So let's keep the population down without, of course, letting them know that we want to exterminate them. Unreal. Some of the most damning, shocking, scandalous quotes come from the lips of Margaret Sanger. In fact, I wrote an article a few months back saying arguably she is the architect of the world's greatest genocide. Will future generations look back at Planned Parenthood as the KKK of today? May truth come to light. We have all heard the saying in recent months, Black Lives Matter. Ferguson protests, Baltimore protests, or white cops shooting innocent black men. Black lives matter. Of course, all lives matter. But I have said, let's take this further. Black lives matter beginning in the womb. How many hundreds, how many thousands of African-American babies are killed in the womb compared to an innocent black man being killed by a white cop? Oh, if there's one innocent black man killed by a white cop, that's one too many. That's grievous. Or killed by anybody. That's grievous. But how many innocent black babies are killed in the womb thanks to Planned Parenthood and the abortion monster that we have today known as Planned Parenthood? Margaret Sanger, April 1932, Birth Control Review, page 108. Birth control must lead ultimately to a cleaner race. There is a reason that abortion clinics in disproportionate numbers are in poor neighborhoods. Why did they start there? Because the poor multiply like weeds. Because you'll have too many people who cannot care for themselves adequately, and then ultimately it will be a drain on society. They'll be ignorant. They won't be properly educated. They won't have the same high-quality genetics that others have. And these weeds, these human weeds, be they black, be they Hispanic, be they other immigrants, must be eliminated. Again, Margaret Sanger held to the philosophy of Thomas Malthus, who said some decades earlier that the problem is the world population is going to outgrow the food supply. And when that ultimately happens, there will be mass starvation, the most horrific death for human beings around the globe. So if you've got the poor living together in a small neighborhood, let them live together in a small neighborhood, because then when there's a plague or some disease breaks out, they'll just die off. They'll just die off. And then this way, the population will kind of cull itself. Well, Margaret Sanger realized that the great tool for that is abortion. People have disputed, well, this plan to get Negro ministers involved and to get them to encourage their people to have abortions. And certainly they can't be thinking we want to exterminate the black people, so we need to get them involved to kind of take away any fear of dealing with the whites on this. And people said, that's disputed. I saw on Wikipedia, that's disputed. Well, you can go online and see the actual typed letter. The actual original typed letter, a picture of it online where she puts this plan out. There is no denying what her intentions were. There is no denying the extraordinarily high presence of abortion clinics in poor neighborhoods. And let's remember that in New York City, the most recent data that we have, more black babies were aborted than born. That is an assault on precious men and women created in the image of God. I believe a generation that God wants to bless and raise up and mightily use being wiped out. It is black genocide. We must stop the black genocide. Planned Parenthood must be defunded. We look back at the KKK. We look back at their murderous acts against black Americans. We look back at the racial inequality, the hatred. We look back at blacks not being fully human. Now we see what Planned Parenthood is doing. Whatever atrocities they're committing, all the more are they committing them against blacks and against Hispanics. Defund Planned Parenthood, which is quickly making itself known as the KKK of today.